Let's just dive right into this fascinating explainer where we're going to break down 21 incredible psychological facts that will absolutely change how you understand human behavior. Psychology isn't just some dry academic subject meant for textbooks. It's a highly practical toolkit that you can literally use every single day. Whether you're trying to navigate tricky relationships, figure out your own hidden emotional triggers, or just kind of understand why we do the weird things we do, having a solid grasp of the brain is basically like having a cheat sheet for life. So get ready, because we're out to explore some truly eye-opening insights that will completely shift the way you interact with the world around you. First up, let's look at this brilliant little thing called the water trick. It's a super simple psychological nudge that can instantly make someone your friend. So if you want to break the ice with someone, just ask them for a tiny, harmless favor. Something like asking for a sip of water because you're incredibly thirsty. But here is the kicker. When they give it to you, don't just give them a polite, quick thanks. Instead, dramatically overthink them. Tell them they literally just saved your life and that the water tasted like nectar. Now, I know it sounds completely over the top, but psychology shows that this immediate validation triggers a massive positive association in their brain. It makes them incredibly receptive to your friendship right on the spot. To make sense of all these amazing insights, we've organized them into 3 main chapters, covering social dynamics, emotional health, and brain secrets, all wrapped up with a fun little riddle at the end. We'll move through these step by step, so you can easily absorb and apply them. Okay, let's kick things off with our first chapter, social dynamics and relationships, and take a look at how we actually connect. So, want to know the ultimate formula for being attractive? It all boils down to 2 things: asking questions and making them laugh. We are naturally drawn to people who take an active interest in us. Let's be honest, human beings are fundamentally pretty self-focused. So when you actively ask someone about their life, their thoughts, and their experiences, you become instantly magnetic. Couple that genuine curiosity with the ability to bring a smile to their face, and you've basically unlocked the cheat code for social attraction. It's incredibly simple, but man, does it work. And there are some really quirky dynamics in how we bond too. Take guys who live away from home, for example. They often end up bearing these heavy responsibilities and totally forget to live for themselves. And since men are historically highly selective about sharing their feelings, if a guy actually opens up to you, trust me, you hold immense importance in his life. We also know that regular socializing is the absolute secret ingredient to keeping any relationship feeling fresh. But here's a really fun one. Psychology suggests that women who prioritize spending their cash on enjoying good food rather than just piling up beauty products are often perceived as far more authentic and, believe it or not, much cuter. Moving right along to Chapter 2, Emotional Health and Our Internal World. Let's talk about understanding our feelings. Now, this number right here is absolutely crucial. 12. Natural emotional pain actually only lasts for 12 minutes. Think about how revolutionary that is for a second. That initial sting, the raw chemical reaction of hurt or sadness in your brain, it passes incredibly quickly. If you are hurting for hours or days after an event, it's simply because your brain has put the memory on a continuous loop, fueled by your own overthinking. Recognizing this 12-minute window is a massive first step toward taking back control of your emotional well-being. But of course, when that intense pain does linger, it profoundly alters us. It destroys our trust and turns us into chronic overthinkers. It fundamentally shifts how we view the world, which often causes us to push people away. But perhaps the most poetic and kind of tragic truth here relates to our tears. The deepest tears don't just fall because we lost someone else. They fall because we suddenly realize we have entirely lost ourselves in the desperate process of trying to hold on to them. This brings us to the fascinating difference between an empty mind and a busy mind. You know the saying about an idle mind, right? Well, when we aren't engaged, our brains naturally default to negative thoughts. And get this, that negativity can actually weaken your physical immune system. On the flip side, keeping your mind busy keeps you mentally resilient and physically healthier. By staying engaged, you're naturally harnessing a positive law of attraction, where your active, positive beliefs literally begin to manifest into your everyday reality. Your focus absolutely dictates your outcome. Now, if all those emotions are leading to some serious late-night overthinking, there is a brilliant psychological trick you can use. Write your worries down on a piece of paper and then throw it straight in the dustbin. Boom. You'll likely fall asleep within 10 minutes. By physically transferring your anxieties from your racing mind onto a tangible object and then physically throwing it away, you are signaling to your brain that the problem is officially handled for the night. It clears out that mental clutter so you can finally get some rest. All right, let's dive into our third chapter, Secrets of the Human Brain,
where we uncover unconscious habits and intelligence.
It's super fascinating to observe how highly intelligent people operate day to day. For starters, they tend to get bored really easily. But more importantly, they fiercely protect their peace by staying quiet and avoiding time-wasting arguments. Even though they notice absolutely everything going on around them, they choose silence because they know arguing is rarely productive. They also operate using this brilliant mental framework. They know full well that every story always has three different sides: your side, their side, and the actual objective truth. And speaking of arguing, have you ever wondered why some people are just so incredibly pushy? Well, 80%. That is the number of individuals who force their opinions onto others simply to attain their own false sense of inner peace. When someone is aggressively trying to make you agree with them, it honestly rarely has anything to do with you. It's a psychological defense mechanism. They desperately need you to validate their worldview just so they can feel secure in their own minds. Speaking of wild unconscious habits, check out this staggering statistic. The average person unnecessarily checks their smartphone a whopping 110 times a day. But what's even crazier is the social mirroring effect attached to it. There's actually a 90% chance you will check your phone right now if you simply see someone else doing it. It's a highly contagious reflex, which just goes to show how deeply wired we are to unconsciously mimic the behaviors of the people around us. We also see some really fascinating gender differences in how our brains process information. Generally speaking, women tend to tackle problems by using both hemispheres of their brain. Men, on the other hand, tend to rely pretty heavily on just the left side. This perfectly illustrates two very different natural approaches to problem solving. You've got holistic processing happening on one side and highly compartmentalized logical processing happening on the other. And because of that distinct brain usage, we see major differences in decision-making. Women might take a bit longer to make a decision, likely because they're processing the issue holistically, but their emotional depth ensures they stick to those choices way longer than men do. Men might make a snap decision, but women exhibit this beautifully stubborn persistence that's rooted in deep emotional conviction once they finally made up their minds. To wrap up our brain secrets, here are two quick observations for you. First, keep an eye out for people who speak very little but talk incredibly fast. Psychology says they are likely quite secretive, carefully guarding their inner thoughts while just rushing through whatever communication is absolutely necessary. And finally, if you want your brain to function at its absolute peak, hitting the pillow early is the ultimate biological hack. Maximizing those early sleep cycles translate directly to a much sharper, way more efficient brain the very next day. And finally, we have reached our last section, a riddle for you. Let's test that freshly sharpened mind. I'm going to leave you with this provocative little riddle to chew on. There are roads, but no cars, forests, but no trees, and cities, but no houses. So what on earth could this be? Take a moment and really think about it. Solving puzzles like this requires looking totally beyond the literal and accessing a completely different perspective. And honestly, how does shifting your perspective change the way you look at the world around you? Keep questioning things, keep observing the people around you, and most importantly, keep using these psychological insights to decode your everyday life.